Ocean man, take me by the hand, take me to the land.
I love swimming in the ocean, not because it makes you feel like you're flying, and not because it helps you cool off in the summer, but because there are actually 3 liters of whale goon juice per 1,000 liters of water in the ocean. And so every time I visit the beach, I make sure to bring a massive cup so I can drink as much whale goon as possible before I go home. Because the ocean is the only way I can ethically source it unless I kidnap a whale and brutally diddle it. Anyways, a lot of people are the opposite and hate the ocean because it can be pretty scary. The most painful ocean deaths ever by the Pain Explainer.
Lake Oliver Dam accident. On October 27, 2020, a 31-year-old man named Alex Reed Paxton, who worked as a commercial diver, was assigned a seemingly normal job at the Lake Oliver Dam in Columbus, Georgia. His task was to inspect the chain on one of the control gates of the dam's electric system to check for any damage.
Bro, they call this a seemingly normal job? Who seems this as a normal job? Because first of all, just looking at this image, I can already tell what goes wrong. This is literally a claustrophobic's worst nightmare. Do you see how like little space there is here? I'm pretty sure when it was 2020, they already had like underwater drones and everything that could probably inspect it even better than a human.
Lake Oliver Dam is a massive structure on the Chattahoochee River.
Massive.
Inside, water flows through giant pipes called penstocks, which carry it to turbines that generate electricity. These pipes are among the riskiest areas for divers due to the differential pressure, or delta P.
Well, if it's risky for divers, then why don't you just send underwater drones? Like in 2020, we already had everything. We had Pokemon Go, we had Fortnite, we had Roblox, we had Minecraft. Surely someone had already designed an underwater drone at that point. And now we get another look at this image. So you're telling me this diver has to fit in this tiny little space over here? Isn't this just guaranteed death? Because how is he meant to get out of there?
This occurs when water rushes through a small opening, creating a powerful suction force. The pressure difference can trap a diver against a wall or pull them into the opening, making it impossible to escape. Because of this, strict safety measures are used to identify and shut off all energy sources before a diver enters the water. One of these rules is called a lockout-tagout system, which involves identifying every potential source of energy, like valves, turbines, or electricity, shutting them off one by one. Each closure is documented on a checklist and verified by a team. But on this particular day, something went terribly wrong. Alex dove into the water and began his inspection. However, unknown to him, a valve controlling a 10-inch pipe used to activate the dam's turbines was left open.
Bro, if this was me, if the diver was me and I saw this 10-inch gap as I was like sort of going down, I would have just whipped out my dingling and just plugged the hole with my dingling, and then like everything would have been fine.
As Alex moved down the chain, his arm was suddenly sucked into the pipe by an incredibly powerful force, about 850 pounds of suction. The pressure pinned his chest against the wall, making it impossible for him to breathe. Even with his diving gear, Alex was trapped and unable to move. The heavy force of the water cut off his airflow, and he quickly lost consciousness.
Jesus Christ, 850 pounds of suction? Bro, the Hawk Tour would go crazy, absolutely crazy. If I stuck my 12-inch wiener down here and had 850 pounds worth of suction, bro, that would actually be heaven.
Realizing something was wrong, the team working with Alex tried to locate the source of the problem, but it took them 30 minutes to identify the open valve causing the suction, and after closing it, another 30 minutes to completely stop the water flow. By the time they retrieved Alex's body, it was far too late, as he had already died from a lack of oxygen. Investigators later discovered that the safety checklist used that day was incomplete. It didn't even mention the valve that had caused the accident, meaning it hadn't been properly shut off before Alex started his dive.
Bro, then who wrote this checklist? Who actually wrote the checklist? Because technically they satisfied the safety protocol. Like everything was shut off that was on the safety protocol. But yeah, it's definitely an issue when like one of the valves isn't even on the list. But this one's actually pretty bad. And like this guy was completely innocent. Like no, he had no fault. Like he did not do anything wrong. He did everything pixel perfect, but it was just the people who were meant to be like supervising him that just like messed it up for him. Because I think this force is sort of similar to how if there's like a sinking ship, like it sort of drags everything down next to it with it like underwater. But yeah, rest in peace to this guy. This would have been a horrible death to drown for a whole hour.
Plate Tail Dam disaster. On January 4th, 2024, 2 experienced divers, Christopher Godet and Frederic Pochet, headed to the Plate Tile Reservoir, one of Belgium's most famous diving spots, for a night dive. This location offered various recreational activities, including sailing, snorkeling, and diving. However, there was a significant danger, a large dam that activated suddenly, depending on energy demands of the surrounding area. Aware of this issue, local authorities had established 2 safe zones with a radius of about 100 feet where diving was permitted. Going beyond these zones was extremely dangerous, as it could lead divers into the dam's active zone.
What, so you're telling me little Timmy and his Fortnite addiction, he's draining so much internet in his house that he probably ends up killing these divers?
The dam's intake tunnel entrances had no protective grids, as these required frequent replacement every 2 to 3 months. One concerning aspect of the dive was the type of equipment the men decided to use. They were equipped with closed-circuit diving gear, which is a type of gear that is designed for extended dives, and underwater scooters, which are used to propel divers. This suggested that they might have planned to explore beyond the safe zones, closer to the dam. The primary danger of doing so was differential pressure. At around 5 p.m., the two men submerged and descended to a depth of 45 meters, near the dam's intake tunnel. At first, they likely heard nothing, as the dam was not on. But at some point, they may have heard a faint hum, the signal that the dam had suddenly been activated. 3 of the dam's 4 reversible pump turbines quickly powered on, generating an overwhelming suction force. Within seconds, the 2 divers were pulled toward the dam and sucked into the intake tunnel.
Bro, no offense, but like I feel like the solution is just to whip out your cock and just shove it into the hole. Like me personally, my girth is so thick that I could probably maybe seal the whole thing shut. Although I'd probably need like 2 other dinglings to like help me. But isn't the solution to just replace them every 2 to 3 months? Like if they had a grill there every 2 to 3 months, then this wouldn't be a danger, would it? How hard is it to just replace it every 2 to 3 months? It's just like 6 to 4 times a year. Like yeah, it's expensive, but at least it prevents people from dying.
Later that evening, Frederick's son became concerned when his father didn't answer his calls. He went to the reservoir and found his father's car still parked. Sensing something was wrong, he immediately alerted the authorities. During their initial search, rescuers discovered damaged diving equipment, and although they couldn't confirm it belonged to the missing men, it raised suspicions. Poor weather conditions reduced the visibility and forced them to halt the search temporarily. Resuming at 10 a.m. the next day, they deployed helicopters equipped with thermal cameras, and after 46 hours of searching, human remains were recovered. An autopsy confirmed they belonged to the 2 divers. We may never know whether they went so close to the dam intentionally, even though their equipment suggests that they might have.
Bro, so Timmy's stupid Fortnite addiction really got these guys killed. So they were on their scooters, which were probably powerful enough to sort of outpower the suction of the thing to like suck them in. But since little Timmy was using up so much internet on his Fortnite, and he was streaming Fortnite as well, he was trying to become a Fortnite streamer, it required so much electricity that the dam had to like work overtime to provide that electricity to that house. And then that's what sucked these people in, even though they had the scooters. Bro, they could have, honestly, they maybe could have outsucked it. Who would win in a sucking contest, these thingies or Haley Welch?
Pluragrada Cave Tragedy. On February 6, 2014, in Rana, Norway, 5 Finnish divers prepared for a deep dive into one of Northern Europe's most dangerous underwater cave systems, the Pluragrada. This network of water-filled tunnels connects the Plura sinkhole to the Steinugelflaget dry cave, stretching several kilometers and reaching depths of up to 426 feet.
Bro, just looking at this cave, even if it wasn't filled with water, I still would not want to go in here. Do you see how sharp these turns are? I guarantee if anyone goes in here without water, they'll still get stuck there and like starve to death. But when you add water, you're just increasing the difficulty for no reason. Like, do you get an extra sticker? Do you get an extra reward for doing it while it's filled with water?
Just months earlier, Kai and Patrick had been part of a group that discovered the connection between the 2 entrances, becoming the first to cross the entire cave system. Their success boosted their confidence for this new attempt, which involved reversing their original route by starting at Steinugelflaget and finishing at Plura. After a 15-hour journey from Finland, the team arrived at their destination well prepared. To minimize the risk of disturbing sand and dirt that could cloud their vision, they divided into 2 groups. The first team would begin their dive 2 hours ahead of the second, with both aiming to complete the traverse in approximately 5 hours. The first group, consisting of Patrick and Huotarinen, entered the water and began their mission. When they reached the deepest part of the cave, they decided to power down their underwater scooters so that Huotarinen could take in the beauty of the cave. Everything was going as planned, but when it was time for the team to begin their ascent through a particularly narrow passage with a 90-degree turn, Patrick became unable to see Huotarinen's flashlight, so he naturally waited for his friend. Soon, he saw Huotarinen's flashlight waving around, which was a clear sign of distress, and as he turned back to look for his friend, he saw that Huotarinen had gotten stuck in a narrow passage behind him.
Okay, I'm not a cave diver, but how the frick do you get stuck on this tiny little rock? Do you see how much space there is here? If I was in this situation, I would have been able to swim through this without any scuba gear and without the scooter. Okay, I'm kidding. Of course in real life it would have been different compared to this photo. But I guess that's why it's not really a good idea to do the entire track backwards, like back to front. Because if you did this the right way around, it would be pretty easy because like you wouldn't get like hooked onto it. You could just go down here and it would be pretty simple.
Patrick did everything he could to help his friend, even managing to free him from the place he got stuck in. But it was far too late, as due to the immense amount of stress Hotarinen was going through, he ended up breathing the cave water as he panicked while trying to switch between breathing systems and drowned to death. Traumatized but aware that the passage behind him was now too risky to traverse, Patrick decided to push forward towards Steinugelflaget.
Wait, what do you mean it was too risky to go up here? Didn't you literally go down here, but just the reverse way, like just a few weeks ago?
At the same time, Kai, Vesa, and Jari entered the cave, unaware of what had happened, but they too got in trouble. After reaching the deepest section of the cave, where Hoetarinen had died, Jari Usameki began panicking after Vesa, who was leading the group, told him about his friend's death. Kai, unaware of what was happening, saw Jari in a state of extreme panic and knew that if he didn't calm him down, he would soon lose his breath. Unfortunately, his attempts to calm him down were useless, and Jari ultimately drowned to death in his panic.
Bro, how is it possible to drown to death in a panic? You're not even drowning? What if the news was fake? Like, what if the person hadn't have actually died and this person was just pranking this person? What if it was just a massive prank and then this person just started panicking so much that they drowned from nothing? How do you even breathe in the ocean water if you have your thing attached to your mouth? That could have just been like a cruel prank. Like, what if it actually was a prank, but they were just saying, oh yeah, there was an actual dead body here just so that this person wouldn't feel so guilty about pranking this person?
After watching his friend die, Kai was forced to turn back, coming to the conclusion that Vesa wouldn't survive either. Meanwhile, Vesa and Patrick, now separated from Kai, managed to make it out alive, but feared that Kai had also died. On the other hand, Kai thought Vesa and Patrick got lost on their way out. Finally, against all odds, Kai managed to get out of the cave alive and reunite with his friends, but the loss of Jari and Hoetarinen was devastating. For weeks, the bodies of Jari Hoetarinen and Jari Usameki remained trapped in the underwater labyrinth, and despite the authorities saying that a rescue mission would be impossible and banning any sort of diving activity in the Plurigrada, the three men refused to leave their friends behind. Two of the surviving divers organized a private recovery mission. They succeeded in retrieving the bodies from the cave, bringing them back to the surface for a proper farewell.
Oh yeah, at least that's like a little bit of a happy ending, although yeah, there are two people dead. That's not so happy. But honestly, there's a reason why the police said that it's like impossible to bring the bodies back, because of course it's not impossible, but like it's just highly advised they do not try to recover the bodies. And so I'm honestly surprised that these people didn't end up dying as well.